An official introduction. We'll be having Rico come and preach for us this evening, so we'll give him a minute to get up here.
On our short legs, takes me a while. All right. All right, good evening, everybody. It's good evening right now. Just wait a little bit. So, all right. Well, thank you for coming out for tonight's service. And we're going to open up in a word of prayer, and we'll get started. All right. Father in heaven, do thank you for the day that you've given us today. Thank you for your journeying mercies. Do ask God that you bless the time that we have together. Help me to be an encouragement to the house of God and God's people. And also that you have your watch care over our pastor as he's away. And grant us safety in our travels home. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, you're dismissed. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, you guys, man, that was awesome. Let's go. All right, so my verses that I'm going to go from are in Numbers chapter 16, verse 1 and through 34. Numbers 16, verse 1 through 34. And I never know how far I can go off. Peyton, can you still see me, or it's like an invisible fence or something? Put a shot collar on me. All right. So yeah, sorry guys, you get the short tan guy tonight, but here we go. Numbers chapter 16, verse 1 through 34. The title of my message, I know you're going to be impressed. This is what I probably struggle with the most, is these titles. So I put in here that if you need a title, it says, be a spiritual asset under your pastor, his family, and this ministry. Don't be a spiritual liability. If you think of something better, let me know and I'll change it. But anyway, that's what I came up with. All right, so Numbers chapter 16, verse 1, and moving forward. It says, now Korah, the son of Ishar, the son of Kohath, the son of Levi, and Dathan and Abiram, and the sons of Eliab, and on the son of Peleth, sons of Reuben, took men. And they rose up before Moses with certain of the children of Israel, 250 princes of assembly, famous in the congregation, men of renown. And they gathered themselves together against Moses and against Aaron, and said unto them, ye take too much upon you, seeing all the congregation are holy, every one of them, and the Lord is among them. Wherefore then lift up ye up yourselves above the congregation of the Lord. And when Moses heard it, he fell upon his face. And he spake unto Korah and unto all his company, saying, even tomorrow the Lord will show who are his and who is holy, and will cause him to come near unto him, even him whom he hath chosen will he cause to come near unto him. And moving on, this do take you censers, Korah and all his company, and put fire therein, and put incense in them before the Lord tomorrow. And it shall be that the men whom the Lord doth choose, he shall be holy. Ye take too much upon you, ye sons of Levi. And Moses said unto Korah, hear I pray you, ye sons of Levi, seemeth it but a small thing unto you that the God of Israel hath separated you from the congregation of Israel to bring you near to himself, to do the service of the tabernacle of the Lord, and to stand before the congregation to minister unto them? And he hath brought thee near to him, and all thy brethren, the sons of Levi, with thee, and seek ye the priesthood also? For which cause both thou and all thy company are gathered together against the Lord. And what is Aaron, that ye murmur against him? And so on. You can go ahead and read all the rest of it if you'd like. Like I said, it's verse 1 all the way through 34. And we'll kind of go back and forth on them. So I came up with this title because of one thing. And I kind of touched on it on the last time that I was given the privilege to be able to preach. So here's the thing. Although our names and lives are not recorded in God's eternal word, right? I mean, you read the Bible. I mean, maybe some of you guys have Bible names. Rodrigo's not a Bible name. So my name's not in the Word of God, right? I'm in the Lamb's Book of Life because I'm a born-again Christian. Everyone else who's a born-again Christian, your name is in the Book of Life, right? But as far as in the Bible, you might have a Bible name. If you're like me, you don't. Oh, well, life goes on, right? So the other thing is this. The Bible has examples of what not to do. Remember that one day we Christians will stand before Jesus to give an account of our lives to our Savior. And for those of you who have read about as far as Korah and the decision that he makes and has others go with him as well, obviously you know the ending. If you don't, we'll get into that in a little bit too. Right? So here's the thing. What you do and what you say and how you respond as far as whatever the Lord has for you in whatever ministry you're in, you're going to stand before the Lord one day to give an account of your actions as a Christian, right? And as a Christian, the beautiful thing is, as you read the Bible, as a born-again Christian, you are sealed unto the day of redemption, so you never lose your salvation, right? You didn't earn it, you can't lose it. God is the one who seals you. Last time I checked, you can't break his seal anyway, even if you tried, right? And there's multiple verses to validate that eternal promise. But again, as Christians, you are going to, or we are going to suffer some type of loss of some sort contingent upon how we conduct ourselves in this life, right? God gives us all gifts to be able to utilize them in church and outside of church, and how to be able to minister to others, whatever those capabilities are that you have, or some of you have wonderful talents with music and whatever else not, and others have other talents, and God can use those, right? So you're going to be accountable for the talents that God has given you. And also the talents that you do have, you want to make sure that you're not just comfortable with them. You want to try to, polish them up, right? So, for example, you had Andy using the French horn tonight. I'm sure Andy does practice from, time to time. I don't want to put you on the spot. And Andy's like, oh, no, please don't. No, right? So, but anybody who has an instrument, piano, French horn, trombone, trumpet, violin, whatever, unless you're like super talented and you're going to be like, no big deal, I got this, and just wing it, fine. But at the end of the day, remember this, at some point when we all stand before Jesus, he's going to ask you, okay, the talent that I gave you to be musically talented or whatever it might be, how did you use that gift that I gave you? Did you work on it to better yourself, or were you just content where you were, right? So there's some verses Pastor did mention on this verse as an example sometime back. It's a parable. Obviously, you don't want to derive your doctrine on parables, but it is a good reminder just as far as our stewardship of what God has given us. In Matthew chapter 25 and verse 21 through 26, it talks about the wise ladies with the oil, right? Talks about the stewards that the rich man gives, talents to these stewards. So two are wise, the third one not so much, right? But again, it talks about how, there's going to be blessings and there's obviously going to be judgment. But either way, again, here's the thing. Whatever talents you have, try to use them to be a blessing to the ministry where God has you. If God calls you here, like I touched on it last time a little bit, if God called you here for a reason, right? He didn't call you just to, unless you're visiting. If you're visiting, that's one thing. They're like, wait a minute, we're from Kansas. Whoa, hold on. No. But anyway, so if you're visiting the church, hopefully we can be a blessing to you while you're here. Obviously, if you're local and you're here and you come on a consistent basis, God has you here for a reason. And we'd love to see what God can do with the talents that you have, right? Because again, you're going to be accountable for that, however the Lord chooses to utilize that for you. The thing is this too, you are an example to others. I remember many years ago, as a young Christian, just as a backstory, I got saved later on in life. I wasn't raised in a Christian home. The only thing I ever heard about Jesus was usually after a curse word or if someone was upset or something like that, right? And I went to church on Sunday, splashed some holy water on my face, and then I went about my business the rest of the week and thought I was fine. Fast forward 18, when I became 18, after hearing the gospel multiple times prior to, and God using people in my life to draw me to himself, I got saved. So I got a lot of baggage. That being said, it's still no excuse to not try to be to utilize whatever gifts you have. So here's the thing. Within that, as a Christian, you're going to be accountable to the people that see you. And I'll tell you the rest of the story later, but I'll give you a little cliffhanger. So as a young Christian, I didn't really understand how much of a responsibility I carried to the younger generation or the younger Christians or the people that saw me, right? I just figured, hey, I'm serving the Lord, and praise God, hopefully I can be a blessing to somebody, lead someone to the Lord, which is a good thing, right? I mean, you want to do that. You want to be a light and salt. So anyway, long story short, when I got saved, I had this old 1983 Buick LeSabre. If anyone knows what kind of vehicle that is, that's probably dating you too, like me. It's a rear-wheel drive vehicle. It's a death machine in the winter. Probably not the greatest vehicle to be driving around in the winter, especially in Minnesota, because it's rear-wheel drive, so you're going to slide for sure, and you're probably going to go flying into a ditch in a snow embankment somewhere, right? So anyway, after I got saved, I was like, you know what? I keep biffing this car. I think I'm going to sell it. And so I sold it, and I didn't have enough money to get a sports car or even a two-door car, because back in the day when you're broke, you still want to get a two-door car because you still look cool, whatever. I was broke, so I couldn't even do that, so I had to get a Chevy Cavalier, and it was a four-door. And anyway, so I got this car, and mind you, I had only been saved for maybe a year-ish, year and a half. Unfortunately, the young man that God used to prompt my heart to get saved, and God used him in a great way, and I'll always be thankful for that, he unfortunately started to go into the ways of the world that I came out of, so we separated ways and I wasn't properly discipled. So I'm basically learning everything just on the fly. If it says Christian, I went to it, I read it, I was around it because I thought that's what it was, whatever. And then obviously I learned as I grew in the Lord, okay, just because it says Christian doesn't mean it is, right? So anyway, so I got this Chevy Cavalier car. It was a red car, and I know a lot of people say you don't want to get a red car because that's a cop magnet, well, maybe, yeah, but if it's a Chevy Cavalier four-door, it's probably not a cop magnet. Cops aren't going to be like, oh, yeah, he's going to gun it down the freeway with that thing. Now, if you've got a Corvette, that's a little bit different story. I didn't have that. So anyway, like I said, I had the Chevy Cavalier, and I'm broke, and again, I wasn't discipled for someone to kind of pull the reins on me a little bit. So I was literally a bull in a china shop. I just was like, whoo, I'm on fire for Jesus. Here I come. Watch out, everybody. Get saved or start running. Anyway. So I had this really great idea, and one of the guys that I got to be acquainted with, another Christian, he was very evangelistic. And let's say he didn't really know his boundaries either. So obviously those two didn't really mix, me and him, just kind of, We probably needed somebody kind of like Pastor Wartner or maybe Neil or Ryan or even Andy. Probably someone to be like, hey, maybe you shouldn't go that far with that idea or whatever. So this older gentleman that I was with, he encouraged me to do the things that I was doing. They weren't bad in and of itself, but I definitely needed some restraint. And the Lord definitely helped me figure that out the hard way. So I got this red Chevy Cavalier, and I thought, you know what? I don't have $500 to $1,000 to get a professional paint job. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Walmart, and I'm getting me cans of white spray paint and some decals and some, what do you call it, sweetie? Stencils? I'm going to get me some stencils. I'm decking out this car. Yeah, and I think my mom has some pictures of it, because this is way back before smartphone, dumb phone, anything. I mean, this is, you had a 35 millimeter, and you hope your thumb wasn't in front of the lens when you took the shot. So anyway, so I had this car that the evangelistic gentleman coined it the Gospel-mobile. Does anybody want to take a wild guess at why he would have called it the Gospel-mobile? Anybody? Huh? On the hood, with big stencil letters, I sprayed in white on this red car. Now it wasn't, the car was old. The professional red paint job was gone, so it wasn't like I was really ruining anything. I put on the hood, turn or burn. And on the back, and I don't remember all the things I had, but on the side I had a message on each one, and on the trunk I had something like Jesus is the Lord, Jesus saves, get saved, or something like that. I didn't get to the roof because I'm short, I stand here, and if you really want to have a good time, I stand here, and I think Neil is as tall as I am, or a pastor is as tall as I am, and I'm up 2 steps. So, getting on the roof of a car, I'm good, I got to follow, OSHA requirements. I didn't want to fall and get hurt, So anyway, like I said, so here's the thing. God gives you gifts and responsibilities and desires you to utilize those gifts and responsibilities the right way. Obviously, here's the thing too. Think about this. When God used Moses to call the people of Israel out of Egypt, did he use Moses when he was a young prince, ruler in Egypt, probably next to be Pharaoh? No, he didn't, right? When did he use Moses to get Israel out of Egypt? We talked about it last time. Anybody? He used Moses when he was 40 years older, which I think was probably about 80 years old at this time, and he was a stinky, nobody shepherd, shepherding sheep, right? So he went from a really high status, lots of money, lots of potential and abilities and resources, to someone in the back of the desert taking care of some stinky animals, right? But he finally was able to break Moses, humble him enough to be able to utilize him to be able to lead the Israeli people out of Egypt, right? So here's the thing: with the responsibilities and gifts that you have, God wants to use you in a great way. Whether it's here or even when you're out and about, try to be a light in the world of darkness. That being said, when you have godly Christians who are, let's just say, more seasoned than you spiritually, it's okay to admit that, right? You probably want to listen to what they have to say. You definitely don't want to go, always with the counsel of the same generation that you're in or the same spiritual age that you're in, right? Probably not. But, oops. So anyway, I'm flying down the road with my gospel-mobile car. Does anybody want to take a guess at how good of a driver I was on the interstate with that thing? I never got a speeding ticket. That's a miracle. I never got a speeding ticket. But let's just say I definitely changed the lives of a lot of people on the road. Probably not a good thing, again, like I said. So I was very much on fire for the Lord, and I really wanted to be a witness to God, and we all should be anyway, right? Because we're commanded to be light of the world, salt of the earth, right? Things like that. So there's commandments that need to be followed as a Christian. However, within those commandments, there's restraint, right? You want to use wisdom as you try to utilize those gifts that you have. And God puts godly people in your life to help you, to restrain, to correct you. And what else? What do we not like to be? Humbled, corrected. I'll be the first to admit. I mean, I'm a guy. Naturally, guys in general, whether you want to admit it or not, are arrogant, right? Generally speaking. We're just arrogant. We're proud, and we think we're right all the time, or most of the time, right? Then you get married and you realize, no, you're not right most of the time at all. But anyway, it's okay, I tell people all the time, I'm the head of my home, and I get the last say. But when the Lord's going to swing, my wife ducks, and I get hit by the Lord. So anyway, that's just how it works out, right? At the end of the day, remember this. You're going to have people in your life, hopefully seasoned Christians, to help you, to restrain you, and to help encourage you to do right. Hopefully, right? And if not, obviously, there's verses to back that up to, separate yourself. In this case, in this scenario with numbers, this isn't the case. So here it is. Point number one, if you want points, I got 3 because I'm, trying to be a good preacher. Baptist preacher always has 3 points. No, but anyway. So seek to serve the Lord in the local church. Ask Jesus for wisdom and how you can be used in the local church. James chapter 1, verse 5 through 8 says this: If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not. And it shall be given him, but let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For him that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven in the wind and tossed. For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Okay? Think about the first part of the verse. If you ask God for wisdom, it says that God will give to all men liberally. What does liberally mean? Generously. God's not going to hold back. If you truly desire to know what Jesus wants you to do in your life as a Christian, I don't care how long you've been saved, whether it's a day to now I'm saved. I think I've been saved now 27-ish years, 27, 28 years. You're never going to reach that point in your spiritual life, or hopefully you never do, to where you think, oh, I'm good. I think I'm at I'm at that spiritual, echelon where I'm good to go. I think the Lord will be really pleased with my life. I highly doubt it then. At that point, I think you're probably going to suffer a lot of loss because at that point, you're very proud. So, again, if you desire wisdom, God's going to give it to you. He's going to be very generous with you. Now, how about this? Let's get it down to the nitty-gritty. Girls, when it's time for dessert, do you want me to give you a small scoop of ice cream or a big scoop of ice cream? Well, obviously, right? I mean, come on, you want me to be generous, right? You don't want me to skimp on it. I mean, I wouldn't want to. I like ice cream. So there's that. And then the other one is this, that with that generosity of God wanting to do that for you, and then it also says, and upbraideth not, which means God will not find any fault. He's not going to fault you for wanting to desire to learn more about him, to want to learn how to serve him better, right? I wanted to be on fire for the Lord. I will tell you this, I still remember to this day, and this is, like I said, now 27-ish years ago. Again, ask God for wisdom as you grow in the Lord, no matter where you are spiritually in your spiritual age with the Lord. I remember to this day still, and I don't know if the gentleman's still alive. He was older back, then, so he might have now since passed away. But I was so on fire for God, and I remember I was talking to him, and we were talking about Genesis and, Adam and Eve and sin and whatnot. And he goes, man, Rico, he goes, I'm really encouraged at how on fire you are for the Lord. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this to make my, to build clout on myself or anything. I'm just a young baby Christian. I just wanted to serve the Lord. And he said, you know what, but at some point that's gonna die down, and then you'll be a little bit more mellow. And I thought to myself, looking back on it now, maybe he meant you'll slowly grow in the Lord, and as you grow in the Lord, you'll be more mature, make decisions that will not just please the Lord, but also be not a hindrance to others, right? Maybe that's what he meant. I don't know. Like I said, I was a baby Christian then when he said it. But I'll tell you this much. I never even knew he was a Christian. And I knew this man for a handful of years. We'd come in contact with each other over and over and over. He never told me about the Lord, never once kind of inferred anything about Jesus. I didn't know nothing about, anything of his spiritual, side of his life, up until he found out that I was a Christian. And then, I became a Christian. Then he found out I was on fire for the Lord. And then he decided to give me words of wisdom. And I thought to myself, well, here's a man who never even gave me even like a tidbit of a hint that he was a Christian up until now that he found out that I was one. And now he's telling me, don't worry about it, Rico. That fire will that'll dwindle out a little bit, and then you'll kind of be more like me and just kind of more even keel. And even then, from a baby Christian that had only been saved at that point, probably only a few months, and I thought to myself, I don't ever want to be like this guy. No, I didn't say that to his face. I don't want to be rude. But in my mind, I said, I never, ever want to be like that. If I'll be honest with you, which I always try to be honest, have I been like that at some point in my life? Yeah, of course I have. We've all hit that point of, just apathy in our spiritual walk with the Lord. If you claim that you haven't, either you're not saved or you haven't been saved that long. It's going to happen. It's just your sinful flesh, it gets in the way, right? Anyway, so I thought to myself, no way. I'm never going to be like that guy. Because as I've told you guys before, the day that I got to the altar and asked Jesus to save me, I told him, I said, Lord, if you can do what that pastor says, I'm going to serve you the rest of my life. And I intend to do that with the Lord's help, to always be faithful to the Lord and always serve him the rest of my life. Am I going to be the Superman, Christian that I ought to be? Probably not. Am I going to fall short? Yeah, you better believe it. I'm going to at some point, throughout my Christian walk. You don't think so? Ask my wife and girls, they'll tell you. I make mistakes. Anyway. So like I said, here I am with my gospel mobile flying down the freeway. Now, I was going the flow of traffic, wherever that was. But anyway, and I'm flying down the road, right? And I've got these Bible messages on my car. Now, in hindsight, you think, well, that's great. Praise the Lord. People are seeing that, and it's probably causing them to think, like, oh, yeah, turn or burn. Eek, man, maybe I better really evaluate my walk with the Lord, or, whatever it is, right? But then when you're going, let's just say faster than normal traffic, what testimony are you giving now? You're not giving a good one. In fact, I was humbled by a lost couple. And I had turned off the freeway, off the interstate, when I was with a couple of other people in church. Again, not excusing what I did. But anyway, this couple, the guy goes like this. And I'm like, what? So I roll down my window. Now, I'm so broke, I don't have electric windows. So here's my electric arm, hoping that it doesn't come off the arm. And I'm like, man, I need my cardboard to stick the window back up. Anyway, so I roll down the window. He's like, hey, he goes, is that your car? And I said, and we're at a stoplight, And I said, yeah. He goes, oh, you a Christian? I said, yeah. He goes, yeah, you might want to think about how you're driving then. Ouch. Now, was that a rebuke? You better believe it was. Was that from a Christian man? I don't know. Either way, it really doesn't matter. Did he have words of wisdom to give me? Yes, he did. Did I want to take that? No, I didn't, because I was being a proud young Christian man, and I thought I was right? Anyway, like I said, God is going to humble you one way or another. It's probably best for you to receive the criticism or the critique in a spirit of humility and ask the Lord for help on how you can, make better decisions or whatever else not. I didn't, and we'll get back to that story of my gospel mobile in a little bit. So, here's the thing. We've talked about this as well, briefly last time, about as far as serving in ministry. You're here, whether you're a member or not, ask God what he would have you to do in this church. And God has given us Pastor Wartner to be the under-shepherd of the church here. Obviously, Jesus is the over-shepherd. He controls all things and whatnot. But pastor is the leader of this church, if you will. However you want to term it, and whatever, other titles you want to give, or however you want to look at it. Don't go too deep into it, but all I'm saying is this. Just like a boss at work, right? You have a job unless you're the CEO of something. I'm not. I have a boss, right? So I'm told what I need to do according to the company's rules and regulations, whether I like it or not. If it's not going to affect me spiritually, then just do it, right? Those are things that you as a Christian need to be humble to be able to understand and follow through with if you want to keep your job, right? If you want to just be, I'm going to do what I want, well then, you're probably not going to have your job that long. If you want to serve in the local church in some capacity, that same mentality needs to follow through here in church, right? If you desire to be used by the Lord, ask pastor, hey pastor, you know what? I don't know if you've, thought of anything I can be able to be of service in this church, but I'd love to serve in this church in whatever way I can, just let me know. And then when pastor says, hey, you know what, let's pray about that, and then we'll see what God says. And then when he asks you and says, hey, you know what, the Lord's really been pressing upon my heart for maybe you to do this, but it's not what you want to do, because you were thinking, man, you know what, I want a song lead like Ian. That's what I want to do. And pastor says, Rico, I really think that, that you could really be used in, just trying to keep up the trash cleaning out here in the church. We don't have a huge church, right? We only have a handful of garbage cans. How many of you would say, oh, praise the Lord? Maybe some of you would be like, yes. Others would be like, really? You want me to throw out the trash? I do that at home already. Man, I want to be up there, and I want people to see how good I am in song leading and la, la, whatever, right? I'm probably messing up on my tempo or whatever, right? But anyway, so the thing is this. Again, God puts us in these parts of our lives to not only keep us humble, but to also help us to grow. And I'll be the first to admit, like most Christians, we don't necessarily see that right away, that this is a part of growth. Growth hurts. I don't know if you guys remember when you were younger as I, and you started to grow. Of course, you can't really tell because I'm not that tall. But anyway, as you grow and you get growing, in a certain age, you can start getting growing pains, and they hurt. But they're for your benefit to help you to get taller, stronger, whatever else not, right? Just as it is the same way in the Christian life. The same thing, it's a step of humility. So here's the thing. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 17 says this, obey them that have the rule over you, and submit yourselves, for they watch for your souls as they that must give an account, that they may do it with joy and not with grief, for that is unprofitable for you. It didn't say it's unprofitable for pastor, but I'm sure it is, right? I mean, this family, you guys go to a church, and I'm sure you have a pastor, maybe assistant pastors or whatnot, right? And I'm sure that the pastor of your church and here as well, he probably prays for you guys. Pastor prays for us by name and Carrie and whatnot. Obviously, it affects them when we make decisions that maybe aren't the greatest or whatever, right? But it says right here in Hebrews that it's unprofitable for you. So the question is this, how much of a spiritual stunted growth do you really want? I mean, I don't want to have a stunted growth. I want to continue to grow in the Lord. Am I going to make mistakes? Yes. Am I going to make the right decision all the time? Obviously not. But at the end of the day, that's part of it. Part of growth is to be able to be willing to be humbled, to seek wisdom from leadership of the church. And it might be an answer that you weren't looking for, or you didn't care for, or you wanted something else. But you know what? We all have to start somewhere and slowly grow little by little in that area, right? So ministry is not a one-man show. Pastor doesn't want to do this alone. We read that in Numbers chapter 16, verse 1 through 4, right? Here's the thing. We can go back a little bit. And again, you can read through verse 1 through 34 if you want to go through all that. But here it is. Now Korah, the son of Izhar, the son of Kohath, the son of Levi, and Eliab, and On, the son of Peleth, sons of Reuben, took men. And they rose up before Moses with certain of the children of Israel, 250 princes of the assembly, famous in the congregation, men of renown. So we already got a couple issues here. You've got Korah, and we're going to get into a little bit, the son of Levi. Does anybody know what the Levites did in the Old Testament? What was their responsibility? They were the priests, the high priests or the priests. They were the ones who took care of the Ark of the Covenant, the tabernacle, and whatever else not. Tell you what, that's a big responsibility, right? You're literally front row seats with Jesus. In the Old Testament, you'd be God himself there and whatnot. I mean, that's a beautiful thing to have. Wouldn't you want that? Apparently, they didn't want it, right? So they start getting arrogant, and they didn't get simple people. It said right here, they got people of renown. 250 princes of assembly, famous in the congregation, men of renown. And they gathered themselves together against Moses and against Aaron, and said unto them, You take too much upon you, seeing all the congregation are holy, every one of them, and the Lord is among them. Wherefore then lift ye up yourselves above the congregation of the Lord. Really? So now they're accusing Moses and Aaron that they're like these, trying to act like these super spiritual leaders, like, hey, it's because of us, we're here, and God's delivered us because of me. No, you never get that from Moses. In fact, what did the Bible call Moses? He was what? The meekest. I don't know about you, but I know I'm not the meekest. Talk to my family, they'll let you know I'm not the meekest person, right? But God has Moses in God's word that we've all read, probably at one point or another in our devotions, that Moses was the meekest man. He only got that way because he allowed God to mold him that way. And now you have these people who are in a very beautiful position. I mean, okay, let me ask you this. If you're not a lady and you're a guy, what is going to have to be your possible position as we continue? We're all Israelites, right? We're getting out of Egypt and we're going to Canaan. You're not a woman, all you fellas. If you're not in the Levitical priesthood, or if you're not part of the Levitical tribe taking care of the tabernacle, what's your next job? What? Soldier. That's where you're going. You're not part of the Levitical priesthood. You're part of guts and glory, right? Well, maybe, if you win, right? That's your job. Which one would you want? I'd want to, hey, I'll serve the Lord. I'll carry whatever you want. They're like, hey, Ryan, I'll be praying for you. Hopefully it goes well. No, I probably wouldn't be like that. But anyway, right? But the thing is that. So think about it that way. They had one of the greatest positions, and yet because of their arrogance, they're like, Moses, it's because of you. You think you're greater than everybody. What was the next verse? And I guarantee you this wouldn't have been my response. And this further validates how Moses was. Verse 4, and it says, when Moses heard it, he fell upon his face. Let's be honest, people. If somebody accused you of something, especially if it wasn't even right, if it was right, then maybe it should be like Moses, right? But if it wasn't even right, and you had a false accusation against you, how many of you and me would be like, all right, I'm sorry. Okay, I really need to figure this out. Why are you acting this way with me? Or whatever it is, right? How many of us would do that? Would you get on your face? No, probably not. I probably wouldn't, Is that good? No, it's not. But that just goes to show the humility that Moses had. Instead of attacking, right, or getting defensive, and, how dare you accuse me of that, right? Because that's the first thing that would probably come out of my mouth. No, Moses didn't even do that. He got on his face before the Lord. And then he's probably thinking, Lord, who am I? Why are they accusing me this way? Have I said something, done something, right? So you've got that. So here's the thing. So you need to stay humble and serve in the local church. That's point number 2 if you're taking notes. Point number 2, stay humble as you serve in the local church. Never think of yourself too highly because you carry more responsibility than others in this church. Whether you're more visible in a position of accountability or scrubbing a toilet, right? Jesus blesses those who want to be a blessing, not a show-off. And we have that in Luke chapter 6, verse 38. We'll read that here real quick. Luke chapter 6, verse 38. If I can get there myself. Luke chapter 6 and verse 38 says this, Give, and it shall be given unto you, good measure, pressed down and shaken together and running over, shall men give into your bosom. For with the same measure that ye meet withal, or it shall be measured to you again. That's that's what true service should be, right? To be able to serve in that way. So, here we go. Quick rabbit trail. And people are like, Rico, quick rabbit trail? Nah, probably not. Psalm 84:10. Let's go to Psalm 84:10. Psalm 84:10. Someday I'll get there. Fat fingers. All right, here we go. Psalm 84:10. For a day in thy courts is better than 1,000. I had rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than to dwell in the tents of wickedness. The greatest ministry that we can ever have in this church, or whatever church you're involved in, is what? That front door. That's the greatest ministry someone can have. And I think a lot of people take that for granted. They think, oh, no, I want to play. I want people to see how great I am. La, 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 doo, 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 or whatever, right? Instrumental or preaching or whatever it is, right? I mean, I'm the last ditch effort that pastor had, so I'm not really bragging. The pastor's like, Rico, can you? I mean, okay, I'm just kidding. But anyway, the greatest ministry that any of us can have is that door. Because here's the thing, no matter how great this is, no matter how great that is, for all you ladies and gentlemen that do, musical stuff or visual here, no matter how great that is, I guarantee you those two visitors, when they came through that door, if they would have walked through that door, and here's the doorway, right? And here's the gentleman and his wife coming through. Nobody opened the door for them. They just walk in. And here we are standing around, yeah, blah, blah, blah. That's what I did today. That's what I'm going to do this weekend. And all they got to see was our backside. And they come into the church, and they're like, well, I guess so. All right, sweetheart, I guess we'll just sit down, right? And then, of course, they got to listen to me like, ooh, this was really a bad choice. We should have went somewhere else. No, but anyway, the thing is this. That's the greatest ministry, and I think it's the one ministry that a lot of people don't see how important that really is. Because as soon as you walk into this parking lot and hit that doorway, the first person you see is going to be the spiritual taste that you think that you're ready to get involved in that church, even if you're just here to visit. If I answer the door, I'm like, hey, welcome to church. What is this, a 7-Eleven? I'm not here to get bubble gum, whatever, right? Or there's nobody even to say hello to me. Now I get it. We get busy doing things, whatever. Sometimes there's not somebody there to greet you. I get it. But let's say you get through the door, nobody was there to greet you. Fine. I mean, there's not itching stone that somebody had to be there. But you pass that doorway, and then everybody's just lollygagging around and doesn't even acknowledge the fact that you came in, at least to say hello, be polite to you. If you're going to be coming through this neighborhood again, how likely would you be coming back to this church? Probably not, no matter how great my sermon was. No, I'm just kidding. Whatever, right? Probably not. Maybe. I mean, I guess if you're desperate, like, man, I guess if that 10 short guy's still there, I guess we can go check him out one more time, whatever. So, right? But the thing is this, that's one of the greatest ministries that I think a lot of people forget about because they're just like, I'm busy doing this, that, and the other, when at the end of the day, I mean, if you're greeted with a smile, now don't get me wrong, if we're blasphemous, right, we're saying something or something heretical, you're probably not coming back anyway, right? I wouldn't. But I'm more likely to sit and listen to the sermon, unless it's like totally way out there, right? If you're like doing backflips for Jesus, I'd probably like, yeah, we're gone anyway. Thanks for shaking my hand and smiling, but we're out, But if you were polite and, acknowledged me, my wife, my children, and or however it worked out, smiles, and at least got to know me a little bit, it probably would make me a little uncomfortable, right? Because I don't know you, you don't know me. But I can't say anything negative about you. What? Oh, that church was too friendly. I hate churches like that. Okay, well then go to a funeral, I guess. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, right? So the thing is this. That is one of the greatest ministries in this church. I remember even as a young Christian, I don't know why. And I think maybe because, again, like I said, I wasn't discipled. I didn't really know a lot. I loved to be at the door. I love to just be able to see people, say hello to people. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I'm the greatest person or whatever. I know I got the $1 million smile, right? But anyway, I mean, I'm sure there's people who can do a better job than I can and whatever else not, but I truly do enjoy saying hello to people when they come in, or at least, once they're in or whatever. And, at the end of the day, I really think that is something that's very important, for us as a church to at least be, friendly to people as they come in. And pastors has mentioned it before that we do a good job doing that, so praise the Lord for that. That's the rabbit trail. Always remember this, regardless of whatever position you have in church, The greatest position is one that's probably never really noticed much, and that's the one right there at that door. And so always remember, regardless of whether it's a visitor or not, show some acknowledgement of who they are. That you appreciate them coming to visit us and whatever else not, and move on. All right, moving on. So here we go. Point number 3, your testimony in and out of ministry will affect people, right? Now again, like I said, Korah and that group of people, he didn't have 250, morons with him. He had 250 people of renown. These are wise people that had positions and whatever else not with them, and he duped them. And it says here, remember this, like I said, Korah is represented as a wise man, chief of his family, and as one of the Kohathites who carried the Ark of the Covenant on their shoulders, like we talked about, right? They were also taken care of by the rest of the Israelites because of the responsibility that they had. And like I was saying, as like Ryan or whatever else not, right? I'm not going to war. If I'm part of the Levitical tribe, my responsibility is to take care of the Ark of the Covenant, the tabernacle, whatever else not. I'm not going to war. Everybody else is if they're not part of that priesthood. That's just the responsibility that you had, right? So why would you want to take that for granted? Moving on, we'll get this. The story of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram's rebellion against Moses and Aaron in Numbers 16 emphasizes the importance of not just respecting authority, but to be thankful for whatever God-given position God places us in. Our pride can lead to severe consequences despite this warning. Korah, Dathan, and Abiram continued in their rebellion, and as a result, the ground opened up and swallowed them and their families. And this tragic event reminds us that God has placed leaders in authority over his people, and our responsibility is to respect and submit to that authority. Again, if you're a well-versed Christian, if you've grown in the Lord, you obviously take that with a grain of salt. I'm not saying whatever your pastor says, do it, right? We are accountable to the Lord for our actions, and we have a free will. So obviously, and I'm not saying Pastor Wartner will tell you to do something way outlandish, but I'm saying I trust my pastor and the decisions that God helps him with the wisdom to make, that they would be the right decision. Do I have to follow him blindly? No, obviously not. But at the end of the day, I'm supposed to submit to the authority that God has placed me under, right? If you can't respect your pastor enough to respect him as the spiritual authority that God has placed you under, then one, check yourself first, because you're probably the problem. Or two, maybe there's something going on with your pastor. I don't know. I can just tell you as of now, I know with Pastor Wartner, I have no qualms with him whatsoever. If I have an issue when he tells me that I should either say, do something, or he asks me, to follow through with something, and my immediate response is, why can't Joel do that? Right? Joel's like, no, I don't want to do it. No, just kidding. Right? What if my response is that? It's not my pastor's fault. It's my fault. Where am I at spiritually? Why would I respond that way to my pastor? Or even Carrie, if she's asking me to do something, right? That maybe won't be, visual, to everybody else. Let's move on to the very end of Numbers 16, verse 31. So here it is. Numbers 16 and 31 and so on for a few verses there. So, and it came to pass, as he had made an end of speaking all these words, this is Moses, that the ground clave asunder that was under them, and the earth opened up her mouth and swallowed them up, and their houses and all the men that appertained unto Korah and all their goods. They and all that appertained to them went down alive into the pit. And the earth closed up them, and they perished from among the congregation. And all Israel that were round about them fled at the cry of them, for they said, lest the earth swallow us up also. And there came out a fire from the Lord and consumed the 250 men that offered incense. And moving on, obviously you can read the rest. But here's the thing. You're not an island to yourself. You are going to affect people, good, bad. I wouldn't say indifferent, because it's either good or bad, right? And like I said, for me, with my gospel mobile, I had a lot of scriptural stuff on my gospel mobile, right? So I affected people one way, right? If I was going the flow of traffic or maybe going the speed limit, right, Neil? Then I could affect people the right way with what I have on my car. But when I'm flying past you because it looks like I just robbed a bank and I got, Jesus saves, you're looking at that like, what a hypocrite. No, that's why I don't go to church, whatever. And people use excuses, whatever. But at the end of the day, I affected people in multiple ways. And again, like I told you, this family that pulled over next to me when I got off the freeway and said that to me, I was like, whatever, no big deal. So God's like, okay, fine. You're not going to listen? I'm going to make you listen. So one day, fast forward, Rico in his gospel-mobile, flying down the freeway like Superman. I get a call. This is back when you just got, you had a flip phone. That was like the cool thing. Anyway, so I had a young man from the church call me and he said, hey, Rico, is there any way you can come pick me up? He was going to First Baptist Church of Rosemont School. And I lived in North Minneapolis. And so that's about a 40-minute drive or whatever, depending on traffic and stuff. And he's like, hey, look, you know what? My mom can't come get me, just due to certain scheduling conflict or whatever. Can you come get me? I'm like, oh, yeah, no problem. I got you. Now, I can make that 40-minute trek in probably like 25 minutes, not because I'm going the speed limit, right? And not because I'm going the flow of traffic, because traffic is trying to keep up with me. And because of my arrogance and not listening, even to whoever, if that family was saved or not, it really doesn't matter. Again, it was my testimony and I wasn't affecting them the right way. God had to shake me up a little bit. So as I'm flying down the freeway, burying my speedometer, going into Rosemont to go pick up this young man. Again, I'm serving the Lord, right? Is it not being a blessing to go and help this young man who needs to get home? Would you all agree that that was a good thing? I'd agree that that was a good thing. The testimony that I was doing from North Minneapolis to Rosemont probably wasn't a good thing because I was going faster than everybody else. And as I got to Rosemont, I was about 10 minutes away. I was about 10 minutes away, and I remember I could hear my engine. I'm like, oh man, what is that sound? I've never heard that before. So then I got real spiritual. I'm like, Lord, and I'm not kidding you, Lord, if you could please just help me to get to Rosemont, before my car blows up, that would be great. Do you think God answered my prayer? Yes, he did. Exactly how I prayed. I shouldn't have prayed that way. I should have been like, Lord, help me to pick up this young man, take him home, and then get home, and then have my car blow up. Oops. So as I'm pulling into the Rosemont parking lot, my hood is steaming like a mad bull, fuming at the nostrils. There was a man, he coming out of the church. This is later. I mean, the school was done. This was after school stuff, whatever. And the man comes out and is like, hey, he goes, your car don't look good. I'm like, I don't think so either. No sooner did I pop that hood, my head gasket literally blew. Boom! Boom! Steam flying everywhere. I mean, I was like, yeah, I don't think Fred Flintstone can push this car. I'm pretty much toast. So because it was a manual car, we tried to push start it. That was a complete waste of time. And then I had to humble myself to ask another friend of mine. Now, please don't do this. One, it's not legal in the state of Minnesota. I didn't know that at the time, so I'll put that out there. It's not legal in the state of Minnesota, and even if it was, it's not real smart to do it anyway. So I called a buddy of mine who had a Chevy Tahoe. Okay, so now you got a little Chevy Cavalier. You got a Chevy Tahoe. I go, Miguel. Yeah. I said, man, I need you to come pick me up. Where are you at? I'm at Rosemont. What was wrong? I said, yeah, my car is not starting for whatever reason, and I can't remember the young man's name now. And I got this young man here, and I got to get him home. Okay. Now from Rosemont to where he lived, we both lived in North Minneapolis. So, like I said, 40-minute drive. We got home to his house. I got to Rosemont at 7 or 8 at night. Thought it was going to be a quick turnaround. Do you know what time I actually got him home? Anyone want to take a guess? What was it? Midnight. You think his mom was happy about that? No. And again, we didn't have smartphones back then. It was dumb phone, flip phone, whatever. So I was smart enough as a responsible adult that I had the young man drive in the Suburban with Miguel, the primary car. Guess where I was? In my Chevy Cavalier, and guess how we were getting pulled? By a tow strap. It's not illegal. It's not legal in the state of Minnesota, and even if it was, it's not wise to do that. Because of what? What happens with the tow strap? Anybody know? If you got a vehicle that's thousands of pounds more over your vehicle, and it pulls you, and it's not following the same type of distance as you are, what happens to that tow rope? It starts to get a lot of slack. And then if there's a stop, start, it can literally rip out your frame. So the Lord not only humbled me by literally blowing up my car, he humbled me on my way home from Rosemont to North Minneapolis. Guess what happened? Remember my car, my automatic window? As I'm driving down the freeway to get back to Minneapolis, and Miguel is driving regular traffic speed. He wasn't a speeder like me. He's driving down the freeway, And I'm realizing, holy smokes, he's going pretty fast and pretty confident, but we were the only ones on the road. I was getting a little nervous. So I start hitting my brakes. My brakes are smoking. You can see black smoke coming off my brakes. He's driving even harder. And I'm like, oh man, come on, Miguel, you can't tell. And I can't remember, I think my phone died. Great, right? My phone died, so I can't even call him. And I'm like, ah! And my brakes are, smoke's billowing out. I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna die, you know? And so I go to roll down my window, and it breaks, and my glass drops into my car. And I'm like, come on. So I grab I think I had like a wedge or something in the car, and I throw it at the Suburban. I'm trying anything for Miguel to slow down, you know. Anyway, long story short, we finally get to North Minneapolis. We drop off the young man. I get rebuked by his mom, and I take it, you know, like, yep, you're right, I'm sorry, you know, this, that, and the other. We get home, and I said, Miguel. He goes, man, what, is that your car? And I'm like, oh, yeah, man, it stinks. He goes, man, it smells like it's on fire. I said, because I got no brakes. He's like, well, what do you mean? I said, didn't you feel me braking the car when you were on the freeway? Oh, that was you? I'm like, well, who else was it? I said, it was just you and me at 10 at night, 11 and 30 at night on the freeway. He goes, I thought I was having issues with my Suburban, so I just gunned it even more. I'm like, oh, man. So anyway, I say all that to say, again, you know, God is going to do stuff in our lives to, one, keep us humble. And as long as we receive it with humility, we can grow in that area. And allow the Lord to use your life in whatever capacity he can. And don't end up like Korah and all these other people that because of their arrogance, they thought they could be better. And as you read the story, you read about the accusations they put against Moses, which they're not even true. They talk about milk and honey, you know, that we had milk and honey before we left. Where did you just come from? You came from Egypt, and you were a slave. You can't tell me you had milk and honey. You didn't have prosperity. And then and then they accuse him even more, like, that's why we're not over here in Canaan. No, it's not. Read the verses. What caused them to be in the desert another 40 years? You read, if you get a map, and I was telling the Sunday school kids, you get a map from Egypt to Canaan, it's not that far of a jaunt. And this is their trick to get to Canaan. Whose fault was that? Moses? No. Yours and mine, just like them. The reason you are where you are at spiritually is not because of Jesus. It's not because of your other brother or sister in the Lord or your wife or your husband or kids or whatever. It's because of you, me. We are where we're at spiritually because of ourselves. You choose to either be humble enough to receive correction and grow or not. That's it. So anyway, like I said, our testimonies are going to affect people. And just remember that we're supposed to be the light of the world, the salt of the earth. And if we're not, then God is going to humble us one way or another. Might take out your Cavalier. I don't know. So, all right, we're going to close in a word of prayer.